Hey guys, YouTuber Hunter here. Alright, now let's continue looking at this series of Goosebumps episodes that were released on home video in the 90s. And now for my next review, this is going to be a review for A Night in Terror Tower. So this was released on home video around like the same time that Stay Out of the Basement was. Of course, like once again, like I did watch this a lot as a kid, and even like since I was a kid, I've still watched it a lot. Yeah, pretty much like all these episodes I'm going to be talking about I watched a lot as a kid. Like I just watched all of these like just constantly growing up. So I don't think I will need to like continue saying that in these reviews. But yeah, so overall, yeah, I actually did like this episode a lot. I mean, I did think that this was a pretty good episode. So this episode was based on the 27th book in the Goosebumps book series. Yeah, which I find it like a little bit like I just find it kind of like funny that like these books were like the episodes that are in like this video series from the 90s like most of them were like released like pretty much like in order of like their book in order of like their books that were released for the most part. Like there were some that were released like kind of out of order from like the books that they're based on, but for the most part like most of them were released in like on their home video chronologically in the order like their books were released. But yeah, this one is kind of like a little bit out of order in the when they were released on video because this is the 27th book in the series, and yeah, there were like some other books in the series that are like in these like series of episodes I'm going to be talking about out that were their book counterparts were actually like released before this book was, but yet this was one of like the earlier episodes that were released on home video. So I just find it like kind of like funny in a sense that like this is just kind of like a little bit out of order when it comes to that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, as far as this episode goes, yeah, I really do like it. I mean, this episode is quite dark. I mean, of course, like if you've seen this episode, you know that this is kind of like a set around like kind of like a medieval times, which I do find like interesting that they decide to do this because not a lot of like kid shows really do tell stories like set in medieval times, particularly like in this way because yeah, this is it's quite dark because like you have like mentions of like torture and execution and stuff. So yeah, so it's something that you really don't hear on kids shows. So yeah, it is like quite dark for kids. Yeah, but I really did like this episode. I mean, like I said, it is like quite a dark episode, and plus, it is like pretty mysterious as well. Because yeah, as the episode starts, like it just seems like it is just like very normal. Just like it's about like two siblings that are like on vacation and are just touring like some uh just some places in London, and then when they finally do like come to Terror Tower, they like start to notice like some weird stuff is like starting to happen because they're noticing like some of the models are actually like alive that they can see, and yeah, they're just like noticing like a lot of like mysterious stuff going on as they're like visiting the tower, and then as it goes on, like it starts to become darker, and then we like learn that there's more to the story with the two kids than we originally intended to believe. So yeah, so it is like very mysterious in that sense. And plus, yeah, it is like also a very dark episode, like I said. Yeah, like the most intimidating part of this episode is really like the antagonist of it because yeah, the antagonist of this episode is of course like the executioner that has been like is after the two kids, and he's like attempting to of course like bring them, well, he's like trying to take them with him. And yeah, for like a majority of this episode, like he's really just chasing after them. And yeah, they're just like really trying to get him to leave them alone. Yeah, and then of course like we do learn like what, like I said, we do learn more about him and who he really is later. But yeah, it is really mysterious, and yeah, and they did like do a really good job of like really making like the executioner like very intimidating in this episode because of course like his design, like as you can like see for the book, it really does seem like kind of like over the top with like the big muscles and just like how big he is and just that mask and stuff. Just yeah, it is like kind of over the top. But here in this episode, they actually did like go a more serious route with it and make it more intimidating because yeah, they make him like really tall and just yeah, he's dressed in black and just yeah, he looks like very intimidating because he's really like for the most a lot of the times that you see him, like he really is just kind of like giving like the kids like just like this really like intimidating stare, like he like is just looking like that a lot, and even like his voice seems like pretty menacing. He's like talking like in a very deep voice like this, and yeah, his voice is just like really intimidating as well. So they really did a good job of like making him like a very like big and intimidating, and this episode. Like I remember like when I watched this as a kid, like I would always like kind of get like kind of like scared of him. Like even like if, when I was like rewatch this episode, even like after the first time I watched it, when I like continued to watch it, I would always like just kind of like still get like really scared of him. Even like just when you didn't see him like on screen, like you were just like and you just like were just like in suspense with him like coming again. It really just like kind of like make like send chills down your spine and just as you're waiting for him to reappear. So the executioner really is like one of the probably one of the more intimidating antagonists in the Goosebumps stories. Yeah, though, but yeah, when you really analyze it, though, like a lot of people kind of like look at him as the villain of the story, which yeah, that could be said. But when you really analyze it, the executioner really is not like a true villain in this story because while like he is looked at as the antagonist of the story, and while he is like chasing after Sue and Eddie, like it's like when we do like learn like more of the story behind it and like why he's really after them, like when you look at it, like he's really not really like doing all this for himself. Like all he is really like trying to do is really just follow his the orders that he's been given, and he's just really doing his job. Like he's not really like doing this just out of like personal feelings. He's just like doing this because he has his orders. So yeah, so when you look at it like that, he's really not like a true villain. Yeah. But yeah, I do overall really do like this episode. I mean, yeah, with Sue and Eddie, I do think they are really good. And plus, yeah, the two kids that they got like playing Sue and Eddie in this episode, like they really do like a very good job, and they really do actually look like brother and sister. Like whoever did the casting for this episode really does deserve a medal because I think this is probably like one of the best casting choices for siblings in the entire show. So yeah, they really did do a very good job of casting Sue and Eddie in this episode. Yeah, and like I said, this episode just it is really good, and it really does do a good job of like really giving them that very dark and intimidating tone because it is like very suspenseful throughout it, and plus just as you're seeing like more and more like the just the strange stuff going on, it really just does make it like more creepy as the episode progresses. So yeah, and plus yeah, the music in this episode it really does like very chilling and intimidating as well because yeah just like when you like see the executioner on screen like the theme that they give like for the executioner it really does kind of like fit the intimidating tone and stuff. So yeah, so overall just yeah what else can I really say about this episode? I mean it's dark, it's intimidating, and yeah, and they just do a very good job of like giving it that dark tone to it. So yeah, so just really what else can I say about it? It is just a very good episode, and yeah, and it is just like very, very dark. So if you're looking for like a Goosebumps episode that is really like more dark and really just like not really something that you would really like think of when you are like watching a kid show, yeah, this will probably be like one of those episodes that will really like give you that feeling to it. And yeah, if you're into like the more dark stories, yeah, this is definitely a good one to check out. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I guess I like one more thing I want to say about it is that one of the things that I also really do, like think is like pretty interesting about this story is that it's one of the few Goosebumps stories where there's no like actual monster in it. Like I said, like the antagonist for this episode is just like the executioner, but the executioner is just like another like just normal man. Like he's not like a monster. He doesn't have like any sort of powers or anything. Well, he does like have the like something magical on him, but it's not really like something that he is his. It's something he stole from another person in the story. Which yeah, you do know who I'm talking about if you know the story. But yeah, yeah. But really, just he's just like another person. He's just like just another normal person. So yeah, so I do like that they. Well, I do think it's interesting that they didn't really go the route of like giving this episode like a true monster. Like when you think of Goosebumps, like that's probably like one of the first things that you think of is just the monsters, whether it's like Slappy the Dummy, the Haunted Mask, Mass Mutant from Attack of the Mutant, Lawn Gnomes from Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, Scarecrows from Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, the Werewolf from the Werewolf of Fever Swamp, and yeah, it just goes on and on with like the actual monsters in the stories. But here, there is not no like actual true monster. It's just like another person that are coming after Sue and Eddie. So yeah, so that's something else that I find pretty interesting about this episode. Yeah, but like I said, just yeah, it really is like a really good episode, and yeah, and it really does do a good job of like giving it really that dark tone to it. All right, so yeah, so I'm already like 11 minutes into this review, so yeah, so I guess I'll just like start talking about the episode. All right. So the episode opens with an introduction from R.L. Stein as he's actually inside of the tower, and just he was just like talking about how Eddie and Sue are about to make their first visit to Terror Tower, but it might also be their last, and just saying that the scariest part of the tour is trying to get out. Yeah, and then then he just like spoke to somebody like that was off screen, just asking for a ball and chain that he was holding to get gift wrapped. Yeah, and then yeah, then the actual episode started, and then we got like this scene where you actually saw like some guards in the tower taking like a prisoner to be tortured, and you just like heard the prisoner like screaming and just like pleading not to be tortured. But then it was like shown that this was just a just like an ad to just advertise Terror Tower as a tourist attraction. Yeah, and then we see the two main characters, Eddie and Sue, and it shows that they're like part of a tour group that are touring like museums in London. And then as they were like continuing on with the tour, they were starting to run out of museums to visit, but they were able to visit Terror Tower. So then their tour group then went to Terror Tower. Oh yeah, and I should also mention that like Eddie and Sue were off on their own doing this because, like, to their belief, their parents are attending a press conference at the hotel there. Well, not a press conference, a business conference that is at the hotel that they're staying at. Yeah, yeah. And once they arrived at Terror Tower, the tour guide was just like talking about like what Terror Tower or was used for and everything. And then as Eddie and Sue were just observing the tower, Eddie then could just see somebody standing in on top of the tower, just like screaming at him to go back and run. Yeah. And then when Sue was asking Eddie what was wrong, then as Eddie like looked back up at the tower, or the person was gone. Yeah. And then yeah, then after they like caught up to the tour group, who their tour guide was just explaining how like the castle, well, yeah, the tower was like built in like the year 400 and was later like used as a prison. Yeah. And then there was like a funny bit where like the tour guide was playing a joke on the tour group. Like when he brought them up into the tower, like he had like the guards like shut the door, and he was just like telling the group that they'll be imprisoned in the tower and will be tortured until they say why they chose to come. And then as the guards like pulled out their swords and were starting to like go like walk up to the group, then yeah, then the tour guide just like laughed and said it was just a joke. Just well, because like they Brits have to have some fun. Yeah. Yeah, and then he then brought the group into the torture chamber, like, and they had to like walk up like a huge flight of stairs to get there. Yeah, and then once they arrived in the torture chamber, it just showed like a whole bunch of like wax figures of like prisoners that were being tortured, and it also showed like some executioners in there. Yeah. Well, yeah. Then, as Sue was attempting to take Eddie's picture at one point, and as Eddie was like sitting beside one of the executioner displays, the ex- the executioner then like just like turned his head to Sue and was like starting to walk up to her and like held up like the axe that he was holding, and he like momentarily hopped when like a Sue like dropped the camera. And then, but then as Sue like walked up to the executioner display again, then he like started to walk up to her some more, and as he was like about to like swing the axe, it like he just ended up dropping. Yeah, yeah. Then like Sue was like trying to explain to Eddie and the rest of the tour group that it actually did move and come to get and tried to get her. But of course, like the tour guide and the other tourists, like didn't believe her, just thinking that like she was like touching the display herself. Yeah. And then later on, like as they were like on tour again, as Eddie was walking by like a supposed wax figure of what he believed to be like a guard, or as he was like messing around with the hat that he was wearing. And so when Eddie walked off, it then showed that that supposed wax figure was actually alive. Yeah. Then, as then like Sue and Eddie went with the group up to the North Tower where like the most important prisoners were kept. The tour guide was explaining how in the 15th century, the Prince and Princess of York were imprisoned here, and they were actually like condemned to be uh, executed to prevent them from ever taking the throne. Then Sue and Eddie then like saw like a another area in the room where like they saw like a wall with the words "Long Live Freedom" carved into it. Yeah, yeah. Then they like it just ended up like seeing some visions of like a hand that was actually like carving the words into the wall. Then like some thunder started up with lightning, and then Sue and Eddie like saw a vision of that same person that Eddie saw on top of the tower, like just screaming at them. Yeah. And then just like disappeared, and everything just like seemed to return back to normal. And Sue and Eddie just like really were just like so confused as to what was going on. And yeah, then as they saw that their tour group was gone, as they were like starting to freak out about it, then that 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 guy that Eddie thought was a wax figure then and came up to them, and as they were just like trying to ask him if they could help them get back to the tour group, then and he just like was just saying, "You will come with me." Yeah, and then he was just like very insistent that like Sue and Eddie did know why he was there. Yeah. Then as like then the executioner then like started to like stack up three white stones that were starting to flash while also reciting some sort of spell. Sue and Eddie then rushed off, causing him to drop all the stones. And yeah, then Sue and Eddie were running down the stairs with him in pursuit against them. Then he eventually chased them into the dungeon, and then yeah, then like I said, he was just like very insistent that they knew why he was after them when they didn't. They had no idea. Yeah, then he like just grabbed Eddie, trying to like take him with him. But then yeah, then after they knocked him down, Sue and Eddie then like escaped through like some sort of hole in the wall, which led to a sewer tunnel. And yeah, led to a chase down the sewers. Whereas and then as like Sue and Eddie were trying to climb up a ladder, as the guy was then like grabbed Eddie's leg, and he was just like yelling to them that they can't escape from him. Then a flock of bats then were flying through the tunnel, and then they just ended up just doing something to the guy. It was never actually revealed what they were doing to him. Were they like attacking him or something? Well, and yeah, and yeah, whatever the case is, yeah, they like the guy was just like stopped from uh getting to Sue and Eddie. Yeah, yeah. And then when Sue and Eddie were able to get out of the sewer, like the security guard for the tower were questioning them about what they were doing down there. Then they were trying to explain to the guard what happened, but he didn't believe them, just saying that there was no other man in the tower and it was impossible what they were saying. And so as he was attempting to call the police, Sue and Eddie were like starting to freak out, thinking that he could be calling that same guy that was chasing them. So then, yeah, a cab just ended up like driving by. So Sue and Eddie quickly caught the cab to go back to the hotel. And when they arrived, as the driver like just told them what the fare was like Sue like tried to give him money through like just some unknown coins, which the driver just said weren't real. And then yeah, then he was just like starting to be like very antagonistic, just like demanding like just the British money equivalent. And then when Sue and Eddie explained to the driver that like they would get their parents to come down and pay him, like the driver was just like saying that wanting the fare in real money, and but also told them that if they didn't come back within 5 minutes, he would go in the hotel after them. Yeah. So then, yeah. So then, when Sue and Eddie then like went into the hotel and told, were asking a front desk clerk where the conference was that their parents were at, the the clerk was just telling them that there was no conference at the hotel. Well, and then when they were asking for the key to their room, when they told the clerk what their room number was, the clerk just told them that like the room that they said was theirs was vacant and nobody was in it. Yeah, but Sue and Eddie were like insistent that was the room they were staying in, and when the clerk was then like asking them what their last name was, Sue and Eddie just they didn't even know what their last name was, and at that point, that's when like Sue and Eddie like knew that there was something wrong with them. Yeah, yeah. So then, yeah, the clerk then just sent them off and told them to come back when they really do know who they are. But then, yeah, then when Sue and Eddie then saw that the driver was now in the hotel looking for them, they like attempted to hide in the hotel restaurant. And as they were sitting down in the restaurant, like they, they like it was like shown that there was even more that they didn't know. Like they didn't even like remember like what their parents looked like. They didn't know where they lived, or and they didn't even remember any previous day. So yeah, so this was kind of like what I was like talking about in my plot points video about like is like when we first see them in the episode, like when they are actually transported, since they have no other memories of like any previous days or where they live or anything, it really does make it seem like that like when we do first see them is like when they were like first transported to this time. Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, then Sue started to have like some visions and just really thinking that like something really bad was going to happen to them. So then and Sue and Eddie attempted to sneak out, but when the driver eventually found them, they then just like bolted out of the restaurant and into the kitchen. Yeah, yeah. And then eventually then the mysterious guy that was chasing them like appeared again, and yeah, just asked them if they really thought that they could escape from him. Then he just like told Eddie to give it back, but he didn't say what. But yeah, only he and Eddie knew what he wanted back. But then Eddie then just asked him like if he does give it back, will they let him go? And he didn't actually say yes or no. He just like wanted told Eddie to hand it to him, which Eddie did, and it ended up being like one of those like white stones that he had before. And it was like Eddie said that he like took it when uh like he, like he grabbed Eddie in the dungeon because yeah, I didn't say earlier that like Eddie had this like talent of like having really quick hands where he could slip stuff away from other people. Like he slipped a roll of Sue's film for her camera, like like at the beginning of the episode, and yeah, it was revealed that he did it here too with the this guy. Yeah, and then Yeah, when Eddie asks if he will now let them go, he did say, "Yes, they will go now." And then he started up that chant again and put the stones together. Eddie tried to get him to stop, but then yeah, the then he just like grabbed Eddie, and then all of a sudden like this like big bright light then just ended up like shining, and then we just saw Sue like pretty much in the 15th century, and then it was like shown that and like Eddie wasn't there, and it showed that like he was in like some sort of area for like in like a peasant village or something. Yeah, and it just showed that like everyone else was just like like scared of Sue, and they were just like running, and they just like saw her to be evil or just and dangerous and stuff. Yeah, but then the guy in black then appeared again, just saying that it was time to go now. Sue tried to run away, but yeah, he eventually like caught her, and then it was revealed that he was actually the Lord High Executioner. So then, yeah, Sue ended up being captured by the executioner and taken to the tower where Eddie was already taken to. Yeah, and then Sue and Eddie ended up being locked away in the tower. And as they were locked up, then they ended up meeting the same person who was the one they were seeing like the visions of and everything, just the guy that they kept seeing. And yeah, it was revealed that this was his name was Morgred, who was the sorcerer for the king. And then, yeah, Morgred then told Eddie and Sue that they were actually the prince and princess of York, Edward and Susanna. And he just explained to them how he actually sent them into the future and also cast a spell on them that gave them new memories. But the memories also were not complete, which is the reason why they didn't like remember like all that stuff with like their last name and their parents and everything. And then Morgred then explained to them how their actual parents, the king and queen, are were now dead, and that their twisted uncle named himself king, and he was the one that ordered them to the castle and ordered their execution to get them out of the way. And then when the time came for their execution, then a guard read from a scroll just telling them that by order of the king they've been condemned to execution by beheading. Yeah. And so then when the guards opened the door, then all of a sudden Eddie and Sue were then dressed like royalty. They were dressed as a prince and princess, and their memories were restored, and they remembered everything. And Margaret then just explained to them that the spell had now worn off. Yeah, and going back to what I was just talking about with Margaret saying that their uncle now named himself king. Yeah, so as I was saying before, the executioner really is not like a true villain. Yeah, the uncle is really like the main villain of the story since he's the one that ordered all this. And yeah, and I find it kind of like interesting that despite the fact that the uncle ordered all this and he's now the supposed king, like we don't even actually see him. Like he doesn't even appear at all here. So I find it kind of like odd that they didn't do that. They didn't actually like have the uncle appear here. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, getting back to this, yeah. Then yeah, when Sue and Eddie like now had their memories restored, like they were commending Morgred for his service to them, and Morgred was kind of like a despairing in the fact that he failed what he promised their parents, but they like assured him that he did his best and that while they may be gone, the idea of freedom will live on, and it showed like the long live freedom carving in the wall. And Eddie and Sue were just saying that they should face the executioner's acts with courage. Well, yeah, with courage and dignity. Yeah. So then, as they were slowly being led down into the chamber to be executed, like Eddie was asking Morgred why he didn't just send them into the future again, and he explained that he needs those white stones the executioner is in possession of in order to have enough power in his magic to do it. Because he said without those stones, his magic is weak. And he also explained how he actually wanted to go into the future with Eddie and Sue to watch over them. But yeah, instead the executioner was the one that went into the future to catch Eddie and Sue and bring them back, which he now did. Yeah. And then when they finally got into the chamber, chamber, like as the executioner was ordering the condemned and forth, Mordred was trying to make a plea to the executioner to spare Sue and Eddie, to just allow him to send them into the future before they execute him. But the executioner refused because he didn't want Eddie and Sue to grow up and become strong and possibly return to take revenge. So then, and as he ordered them once again to come forth, as Sue was trying to just tell Eddie to be brave, Eddie then just started to just plea to the executioner to spare him, and he even clinched onto the executioner, begging to be spared. But then once Eddie finally got pulled off, then it was shown that Eddie once again had sneaked the stones away from the executioner and tossed them over to Morgred. Then Morgred then was starting to recite the spell and put the stones together, either to send Eddie and Sue back into the future. And as Eddie and Sue were able to stop the guards long enough to give Morgred time. The executioner then was a rush to Morgred to try to stop him, but he didn't get to him in time. And then Eddie and Sue were transported back into the future, and they were just in the dungeon in modern London again. And they were found by their tour guide and tour group, and he was just relieved that they found them because they'd been looking everywhere for them. And then Morgred also then appeared, and then he just was telling the tour guide that he was Eddie and Sue's guardian, and he'll make sure that they don't get lost again. So then, Sue, Eddie, and Morgred then went to the tour group onto the bus back to the hotel. But before Eddie, Sue, and Morgan got in the hotel, they were asking the tour guide what actually did happen to the prince and princess because they didn't hear the rest of the story. And then the tour guide just explained to them that nobody really did know what did happen to the prince and princess because he just told them when the king actually did get to the dungeon, the prince and the princess were just gone, and what happened to them remains a mystery. So yeah, so this does coincide with kind of what did with Morgan sending a Sue and Eddie back into the future. Yeah. And then, as they boarded the bus, Morgan then just noticed that he only had two of those stones. Yeah. Then he thought that maybe Eddie was the one that snuck away the third one, but Eddie just said no. And then it was revealed that the executioner also traveled back into the future as well, and he was in possession of the last stone. And then the episode then just ended showing the executioner looking on. And then it cut back to R.L. Stein just saying that it was time to go, and the tower was closing. And then R.L. Stein was then just asking how you get out of the tower, and then it just zoomed out from the outside of the tower, and you just heard R.L. Stein saying, "Let me out of here," and it was echoing. So yeah, and then as the credits rolled, we got kind of this cool medieval version of the Goosebumps theme. You know how during the end credits of the Goosebumps episodes, it has the Goosebumps theme song playing with the slime oozing down. Yeah, well, now for this episode, they kind of gave it a medieval a style theme song. So I did actually kind of like that. I'll put this medieval theme song that played during the credits in the description if you want to listen to it, because yeah, it is interesting that they used this for the end credits of this episode. So yeah, yeah. So overall, like I said, I really do like this episode. I mean, it is quite a dark episode, especially when you look at what this episode is doing, and you see that this is actually something that's intended for kids. It really just shows you what kid shows can really get away with. Yeah. So overall, I really do like it. I mean, it is a very dark and intimidating episode, and yeah, and plus, I just really do think that it is really interesting that there is no actual monster in this episode. So yeah, yeah, so overall, like I said, I really do like this episode, and yeah, if you really are looking for a Goosebumps story that is a more dark story, or even just rather it being just a monster that the kids are trying to defeat, if you are actually looking for something that really is has a really dark and intimidating tone to it, this is one of the better ones to check out. So yeah, so if you really are into the more dark Goosebumps stories, this is definitely one of those to check out. All right. So I guess this is all I can really say about it. So this was from my review of A Night in Terror Tower. So I hope you guys did enjoy this review. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.